Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Graders Notes, the absolute greatest Graders Notes show you're currently watching. So glad everyone can make it tonight, and always glad to be joined by this august panel that we've assembled. We've assembled the finest minds, sans myself, and all of comicdom to make the greatest review series in comic book YouTube. So without further ado, let's go ahead and do some quick introductions, but I think everyone knows who everyone is. Off to my left, your right, wherever it is the imitable Metarog. Metarog, how you doing this fine evening?
I'm blessed and better than I deserve, but I love to be back here with my buddies here, doing what I love, reading, talking, taking apart, eviscerating comics. That's what I love to do.
Nice. Amen to that, sir. It's a show like no other on YouTube that I've seen yet.
Totally unique.
Hey, comics is a wide field. It's not just looking at covers and values and CGC, right? So lots to get into. A lot of people forget that, I think. So directly beneath me, but never below me, is MrMiracle coming in hot from Canada. How you doing this evening, sir?
Doing well. I'm glad to be here. Very interesting pick, as we always have on Graders Notes. Excuse me. Yeah, I never read this one. I didn't.
Really?
I never got this far. I stopped collecting. This kind of came out when I was in high school.
So much nostalgia it froze him in place. There it is. I think I got cryogenics there. All right. You still with us, or is that my connection that's dropping here?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there you go.
Okay, good. Anyway, Frozen co-host notwithstanding, we have, of course, in the southeast quadrant down there, none other than Comic Kid 84, the hardest working man in YouTube show business. What's going on, Kenneth?
Hello, happy to be here. Very excited to go through this spicy issue. Nice pick, Dino. And yeah, man, ready for a good time.
Yep, this book harkens back to my age-old collecting days back in my youth, my misspent youth with comics and cards. And this is two of my favorite. Technically, this is a two-parter if you get down to it, even though it's not labeled as such. But this is the first appearance of said group, which there's, to its credit, there's none of that on the cover of this book, which is kind of cool too, I think. But yes, the team of the 90s was introduced in the very next issue there that Kenny held up there. But they made their start here. And we're going to start digging in here really quick. We're just going to say hi to the chat real fast. And then we're going to jump into the cover as usual. Beta Ray Jam had checked in really early before we got on. Good to see you. Good to see you. Tim, Comic Collector, what's going on? Mark Knapp, hello. Let's see, who do we have here? Big Daddy Russ coming in hot from North Carolina. What's going on, sir? Wayne, I am Rolling Simeon, the best pinch hitter in the business. What's going on? Let's see. And hey, Cody from Superior Hero Comics and Collectibles. He doesn't have comics there. I just put that in there. Night Tiger, what's going on? Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a little while. So I'm going through this fast so we can get going here. James Gallegos coming in hot from the Southwest. I don't know what state you're in. I know you're down there somewhere, though. Good to see you. Good to see you. Matt Woods coming in from Pennsylvania, riding that train from around the Monopoly board. Good to see you. I think I got just about everyone there. There's Bill from Comic Mad Musings. Okay, there. I think I got everybody. So as everyone knows, we do grade on a scale of points. So it's either 1, a 0.5, or 2, that kind of scale. There's none of that 2.25 nonsense. So just give us a whole number and 1 decimal. That's it. And I do want to send a shout out to everybody before we start. If anyone has heard anything from Jackson Roykirk, please let me know, because a lot of people like me have been asking about him. I'm worried about him too. I sent him a message a couple days ago, haven't heard back. Probably just out of power and no internet down there. But so if anyone's had any reports on him, just let someone know.
Is he in Louisiana?
Yeah, he's down there.
New Orleans. Yeah. I emailed him a couple times. So has Bill. Comic Mag Musings. If anybody's here, we'll let you know.
He may have no power.
That's my guess is that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
hopefully
hope
he
you're safe, Jackson.
Yeah, so be well down there, and we'll keep praying for everyone down there. All right, so all that notwithstanding, let's get into the subject, shall we? And I think it's usually best to lead off with Dave, because he usually has a pretty good take on things. We're going to be talking about the cover as normal. So, sir, what is your take upon the outside appearance of said book?
Well, I mean, it's good. I mean, yeah, it's a good cover. I like that Thor perspective that he gives you, that first person perspective. And then, yeah, Juggernaut looks mean, and he looks like he's coming in pretty hot there, coming after Thor. The treatment, not sure what's going on with this Acts of Vengeance kind of deal. Must have been some sort of cross storyline they were doing at the time. Like I was saying, like 1989, I'd been in high school. I wasn't collecting comics at the time, more interested in doing other things. But nothing wrong with this cover. I mean, it's a little under detailed, and if that's a word, I mean, that's kind of his style, I guess. But he definitely have added some more details in there. Would have been nicer. So I thought a little above average. Much better than serviceable, a little above average, and I gave it a 3.5.
All right, 3.5 coming in. First grade of the evening, better than serviceable. I like that. A full point above serviceable. It's almost an exponential increase there. So, all right, let me get you recorded in the annals of history. And, let's just go here with Kenneth. Kenneth, sir, what is your take upon the wrapper of this present that we have?
Boy, I mean, obviously, this is one of the more unique covers that you'll come across. The first person perspective, I don't think that can be, underappreciated here. You don't see that every day. This is let's see, 89. Okay. I think that it's a stunning cover. The perspective of everything is really spot on. The hands, the hammer, the way that the cityscape is not just like flat across the horizon, it's kind of tilted at an angle. Kind of adds this like dynamic view of the situation. I think putting the title of the book on the hammer is brilliant. What a fun cover, dude. I mean, this is a throwdown issue, which we're going to see, and this is accurate, promotion here on the cover. This is a throwdown is about to go down, and I totally love it. I think that Thor's hands are rendered very well, as is the hammer, but I do agree with Miracle that Juggernaut, I feel, is a bit under-rendered. If you got at least the helmet is metal of some kind, even though it doesn't necessarily need to be a super shiny metal, but it should have been textured a little more. I think you would have gotten a better feel off that. He would even look a little more menacing with some more shadows maybe built into the helmet and just in Juggernaut in general. But the layout and the outline is fantastic. This era of Thor has some of the coolest corner box art you'll find. I'm not big on the Act of Vengeance tag on the top. I think if anything, it takes away other than ads, because that Mighty Thor trade dress is one of the classics. I've always been a big fan of it. Lovely. And I also got to deduct little points off of, you're putting the title on the hammer, but like you see where the J of Juggernaut and the T exclamation point at the end, it doesn't look like it's sitting on the hammer, because the hammer takes a turn here, and the letters don't turn with it. So I think you would have, they just didn't size it quite right. You got to commit to it, man. And just man, that Juggernaut has a couple more letters than you thought. You got to widen that hammer, dude. So that's a little misstep. But boy, other than those couple tweaks, epic cover. I was tempted to go 4.5 because I'm such a fan of the concept. I'm going to give it a 4 though. 4 from me.
All right, good break coming in from Kenny there. 4. All right.
Excellent.
It was close to almost certain greatness there, just a smidge off. Well, Roger, what say you? Are you in agreement so far with the relative strength of the grades in this cover, or are you a little more downbeat in your appraisal?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, these guys really, took over all my little nuances that I mentioned, but yeah. The one thing I think is a little bit. I mean, Thor's left hand. I mean, it just looks like he looks like a little arthritic to me. But when you're my age, you think about these things. Maybe most people don't. It looks kind of strange there, and I think Juggernaut's left hand and Thor's right hand, the size seems to be a little bit off there. It looks like they're almost touching there. But, those are nitpicks. I really like the detail in the hammer. I mean, I see what Kenny is saying, but I think Kenny are being a little rough, with the J and the T. They had to figure it in. I like the concept of putting it on the hammer. Obviously, it shows that there's a throwdown to be come in here, and boy, is there. Yeah, you're right. The Juggernaut is not rent. I mean, this is Ron Fern's, which he's not the most detailed artist that way, so it's kind of par for the course there. I like the way that the cover is tilted a little bit because we're seeing it from a first person perspective, but kind of at the angle where Thor is looking. So that's kind of a neat. The Act of Vengeance banner, it was a big crossover, so if you're like me and you wanted to collect all the different issues to find out what was going on there, that was kind of necessary. I also, like Kenny, I like that Thor, almost like a metal edge, like if it was like metallurgical, like an axe or a sword. I like those really fine, honed edges on the Thor. Yeah, I mean, I like the little shadow down there. It shows you that they're pretty close, but I think that the hands are a little too close. I really like the concept of this cover. The execution could have been a little better, but the concept is a 5 to me. But that being said, I also, like Dave, I gave it a 3.5. Really effective cover. If Byrne or somebody like that had done the Juggernaut, this probably would have gone to 4.5 because I love the concept. Execution, little lackluster for me.
Yeah.
All right, 3.5. And it gets a little bit of extra points for the concept that is on it. And let's see if I'm going to go ahead and agree with this. Let me just pull this up. And let's roll. Okay. This cover is, well, for one thing, it's bent, but don't mind that. This is one of my originals. There are a few small problems with it. Forgive the green screen here, taking them out. One of my little gripes with this is Juggernaut's not red enough. Usually he's a lot more red. See my background there. But back then he was a little more muted. But it kind of gives him a muddy look, which I'm not a fan of. It can make his outfit look a little ridiculous sometimes. But he's kind of a ridiculous looking character in some ways. But that's a small nitpick there. And I was going to mention that too, what you said about the wrap on the text of the hammer. If they could have just put like a fold in that J and the T, that would have been just over the top. And but that's so cool. It's such a cool concept. And man, does it grab you. They put it in bright pink freaking color right there to really make it pop off there. Another small problem is I think the hammer might be a little too small, the head here. And the hand looks a little funky coming in from Juggernaut. Once again, perspective is difficult. But really, they're just minor nitpicks. I mean, yes, the background city is not amazing, but there is a little bit of 3D to it. And I will say, Friends has this strange little hatching thing. This might be some Senate too, but it's different. There's no cross there, but it works. I mean, it's not bad. It just looks a little unfinished in spots. But man, these hands are good. Very Kirby-esque kind of hands out there in the foreground. There's a lot of articulation in them. If you look at the way they're held, it almost looks like Thor is in backpedaling now. He's maybe a little bit frightened here just from the pose of this, like trying to fend off these blows that are coming in. And Kenny's right, man. Juggy looked mean coming in here. So yeah, he means business. And unlike a lot of covers, especially in this era, this actually happened inside. Basically almost looks like this, just different perspectives. It's a great look. It's a great concept. And despite maybe this hand being a little too far forward from Juggernaut, I'm glad that he took the time to actually put it in there because he sure as easily could have put it behind the hammer and not have to worry about drawing it at all. So didn't take any shortcuts, didn't get lazy. It's not too busy a cover. It just shows there's no big explosions or pals or weird looking lights. You got some Twilight in the background, the trade dress back there. Acts of Vengeance was a great storyline, by the way, Dave, if you didn't catch it. Well, it was if you like Loki anyway. But anyway, It was fun. What was it? 20? It was over. I think over 20 books or something like that. It was pretty crazy how far it went over. I too love this cover. I'm torn between 3.5 and a 4. I'm going to edge back to 3.5. Concept is strong. Maybe back it off just a little bit. I don't know how you would though with the hands. It's hard to say. I'm gonna go 4. I'm gonna lean up just a little bit, but I could just as easily go 3.5. But I just love the Juggernaut. It's good to see the villain get the front and center portrait here. And it makes him look intimidating against like the second strongest or first strongest, depending on who you talk to, character or good guy in Marvel. Yeah, I'll go ahead and get a 4. I really like this cover. Just next time, make Juggernaut red.
You better hope Jeffrey Comic-Con's not watching. Big Hulk fan there with that.
Well, now what's Stan Lee say though? Isn't that the most important part? Because isn't Stan on record saying that Thor is the strongest character in Marvel? So at least how he's originally written. But then they had that little thing from Secret Wars where Beyonder said, "Oh, his power is infinite." Ever since then, man, it's been it's been ridiculous.
Yeah, that's post Stan Lee having any control. Yeah.
But all that notwithstanding, what say you, chat? We had some pretty strong grades from our graders here. What say you on the cover here? Throw us your scores right now, and if someone will be kind enough to tabulate for me.
Sure.
I don't like doing it when I'm emceeing, and we will take your grades.
I suspect the chat is going to be in line with you and I, Gino, tonight on this one.
Yeah.
It's a classic, kind of. It's almost a hero in peril, but you can't tell he's in peril. But he's at least he has a fight on his hands. That's nice. So I guess I can share it again.
Yeah.
So you can look at that.
And it's two characters that have power levels that you want to know what the results are. It's in doubt. It's not like when Thor fought like the mongoose or something where I'm going to have a chance.
Culture.
The Red Bull or forget it. But in this one, you really wanted to find out. I really piqued my curiosity at the time for sure about what would happen here.
Dave, you were going to espouse something there. What was it?
What was I going to say?
Or is the moment past?
Yeah, I think it's past. Right. It does get an A+ for creativity, right? Like I do like the perspective. I didn't want to mention everything about it, so yeah, I like the writing on the hammer is really great in my opinion. It shouldn't be bright pink like that, but it's good. Like the whole thing, the whole idea behind it is really creative. I just think it's good, but it's not properly executed. Like there's just a few little busted things about it, and it just it seems off. But
it does keep it from greatness.
Yeah.
I don't like this card.
It's good enough, but it could have been much better with just a little bit of a different artist. I don't think Friends could have done much on this.
Kaz, good to see you. Glad you could join us. Good old Dave coming in. Hey, and Jay, my partner from Friday Night Hangouts, is in here. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Whoa.
If you came in early, I missed you. Hey, there's Slim. Now they're all rolling in. And I think I saw Gray Man come in a little bit earlier. Slim is doing pretty well in the subs last time I checked. So congrats on that.
Good deal.
And we'll get about 10 more seconds here, and we're going to get these grades tabulated so we can move on to the next category.
Night Tiger was none too impressed with this.
Yeah. I think he had the lowest score, didn't he? So far.
Yeah, give it a straight serviceable.
Yeah, looks fun.
Hey, and serviceable, though, after some of the books we've done, that's a high mark right there.
Yeah, to not have one below serviceable, that says a lot.
Alex Big Blue coming in from Kentucky. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Hey.
We'll call you, what? Luxembourg Slim or something. We'll have to give you another name.
We can call him Alex Cool Blue because in all his video, he sees cool at least 10 times.
All right. I think that's it for grades. So, Ken, you want me to read them to you? Or
I took the initiative to tabulate it already, and it came to a 3 from the chat.
Wow, a 3. Night Tiger threw our mean average off there.
Yeah, it did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's still better than serviceable. And like, I'll be the first to admit this is not the grandest of all covers. It's not maybe even the most visually striking. It definitely bears looking at a couple times, but It's definitely one I would like look at the spinner rack and say that could be interesting. So,
Yeah,
but
great.
yeah, it's not gonna go down in the annals of history as the greatest cover of all time or like that. So we'll take that.
Look what Matt says. Metarog, can you quit inviting Gino back on Greater Notes?
Especially on his own channel too.
He's the one who invited me.
Yeah, someone has reaching out to everybody, man. I only got 3 takers, so actually, for those of you who used to watch in the old days, I used to do Gray Man was one of the original 4, and MrMiracle came in and replaced him. All right, so cover's down. So we always start with the cover. So we kind of move around in different areas, and for the interior, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go. Let's talk about story next. So I think you went second last time, Kenneth. So you can go ahead and lead it off here. Okay. What did you think about these scribblings within? Is this worthy of the pyramids, or is this kind of belongs in the dustbins of history?
Yeah, I think where the writing shines in this book is not in the specific dialogue written per se throughout the book, but when I look at this from the bird's eye view and just look at the beats that he hits in the story, it is some, I'm going to say, almost flawless comic book writing, okay? Because you start out, it's a little lighthearted beat. We just get a little character interactions there. Herc, I think he's written well to character. You get good personality there. It doesn't mess around. You get 2 pages of that. We introduce the villain. We set the stage that these villains are in lockdown, and they're breaking out. Juggernaut has broken out of this prison in the UK and has teleported to, I think, Queens by the 4th page. Juggernaut has teleported from a UK prison and is marching down Queens by page 3 or 4, dude. It gets right to it. Thor strikes into action, and by the time you get a couple pages in, you already have your characters face to face. Vehicles are already getting thrown. You get straight into the battle. And the battle is directed very, very creatively, but in the middle, because we got our first appearance in here, and hats off to, it's just a 2-page spread, and in these 2 pages, they introduce you real quick that the new warriors, or a distress signal was put out, and the new warriors hear the call, and you cover all your bases. All the people are introduced real quick, boom, and then you're right back to the action, the next page, and look at that action. Like I said, well directed. Even though kudos to the artist for drawing it the way he did, to script the action events of throwing the trailer. And my favorite beat of the action, Thor throws his hammer, and it's coming in hot and heavy, and you just get that little tunk, bounces off, makes it just really show you who you're dealing with. And then my favorite beat, as the hammer spins around, Juggernaut hitches a ride on it and flies in for the smash, dude. I mean, what a fantastic, let's see, the writing was Tom DeFalco and Ron Friends have credit on that. And boom, and right after that hitch a ride on the hammer punch, you turn the page and there it is. You got your New Warriors debut, 1 panel, straight to the point. I mean, this thing is all killer, no filler. You get your typical Thor banter, art thou, all that good stuff. And it's entertaining. It's not too wordy, but man, you hit all the beats you want for a fun issue of a comic book. Introduce the setting, your villains coming at you, battle time, succinctly tease the first appearance that's going to be at the last page. Didn't drag it out. well choreographed battle, top shelf stuff. For what this book is aiming to be, it is the best of its kind. I have no qualms with giving it a 4.5, brother.
Woo! Hot scores
Wow.
coming in tonight. This is like the Ric Flair of scoring tonight. All right, we got a 4.5 coming in for the story.
Coming in hot and heavy.
Phew, that's a hard act to follow. That's like being at the Improv, having to follow Richard Pryor, man. How you gonna follow that up there, Mehdi?
Tell me why I'm wrong. That's how you beat it.
That's funny.
Oh, it's on me. Okay.
Yeah, really?
Well, I hate to disagree with my buddy Kenneth because I love this man to death, right? But I think he's seen this with a little bit too many rose-colored glasses, okay? Now, you said something which leads me to believe that you graded this kind of on a curve. You said, for what it is, right? I give no such breaks. I give no such leniency just because of the expectation is lower, right? I grade everything on my highest expectation. So I agree with a lot of your points, but I think you overrated this greatly. There's many plot holes here, first of all. There's a thinly veiled Loki, which is behind the Acts of Vengeance. I'm not going to get into that crossover part because that will take up the whole episode. Masterson decides not to take Hercules because he says, well, he tends to throw things and destroy a lot of property. Hello, this is the Juggernaut we're talking about here. Okay, he's taken on the X-Men and defeated them easily a few times. He's taken on the Hulk and the Beast and spit them out. All right, so that's a lot of hubris there. Plus, loss of property. What about loss of life? Did it ever occur to you that the two of you could have corralled him a lot earlier? There's other plot holes here, like when he throws that hammer, right, and it's doink off. Does Thor not read the Avengers files? Because everybody knows he has a mystical shield, so he knew that wasn't going to work. I give him a break because this is the Masterson Thor, not the Don Blake Thor. So maybe he's not familiar with villains as much as Don Blake Thor is. But when he becomes Thor, I believe he has all the knowledge of Thor or Odinson. So again, there's lots of plot holes here. Ron Friends and Tom DeFalco, they did Amazing Spider-Man in the 250s and 260s. To me, they've always been very average writer and artist team, and there's nothing here that really, to me, stands out that would sort of take me out of that standard. There is great action. There is good as far as how the plot evolves. But once you know those new warriors are in the middle there, everything else is very tropish. Everything else is very predictable. You knew Thor was going to be defeated, and the new warriors were going to come to rescue him. So it was, even Metarog in his infancy knew what was going to happen here. So yeah, is it entertaining? Absolutely. Predictable? Very. Except for the part where Thor is weakened, that part is kind of explains why the Juggernaut can get the best of him for a good amount. The dialogue is just average, nothing special, nothing elevated. That being said, because the new warriors are introduced there, I'm giving this a little bit of a bump up because I am a huge new warriors fan. So normally I give this a 2.5, but the new warriors appearance, and Kenny was right, it was a quick shot, just a few little panels here and there, sort of intrigue, giving you some little bit of intrigue. That was the best part of the comic, in my opinion. But I'm biased, so I gave it a 3.
All right. Despite a somewhat negative appraisal there, sorry, my mic was down. Still came in with a pretty respectable grade of a 3 there. So that's a lot better than a lot of our stories get. See the last couple of comics we reviewed. But all right, so I'm going to be next up to bat here. And I'm trying to see. I'm just going to share. If you guys want me to share it when you're talking, just let me know.
Okay, I will.
I'm glad some people here noticed that the first thing I noticed when I read this, I have not read this since the 90s or whatever. First thing I noticed was Herc singing Fine Young Cannibals, right? I didn't pick up on that when I was 13 years old or whatever, but I sure saw it now. So that's funny. Plus, he's got Alf all over his coffee table. So it's such an 80s book, man. I love it. And this guy's dressing like he's going to a Houston Oilers game, man. Go Masterson with his cane. And he's even got pens in the pocket, too. He's really going for the comic book nerd look. But this story, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with Metarog a little bit here. I think a lot of times around this era, too, we were starting to get a little more spoiled on the deep comic book, right? You know, the Millers out there were writing these, you know, nothing was simple. There was no, the 50s were dead. You couldn't have a slam bang action comic with very little build up or setup. You know, it was a 4-page sweeping saga just to get to the grocery store to stop the bad guy, you know. Ain't none of that in this book, man. This is a throwback to when comics were fun. This is like a shooter special because he knows what people want when they read Thor. They want these and thous, and they want some sort of throwdown because he's a big, you know, a big tough guy, right? He's a big strongy in Marvel. And it's funny that, and I agree with Metarog though, that it was a misstep not to have Hercules in this. It's like why would he leave him behind? I mean, Hercules can hold things, so he doesn't have to go up and just throw him through buildings. He can actually go up and grab Juggernaut, and he's strong, right? So that didn't make much sense. And plus, he's sitting there with just a Walkman. He didn't see Eric leaving and all that, but whatever. It wants to be mano a mano here with Thor and Juggernaut, and boy, we get that in spades. Like Kenny was saying, by page 4, we have introduced our villain. There's no like lead up to this top secret facility. There's like one panel in a facility that holds criminals. They're super criminals. I love it, man. It's simplistic. This is a 10-minute read. This book is like a 10-minute read at most, right? And that's fine. They don't have to be 30-minute reads full of like dense panels and all that. The art direction is pretty good to help tell the story. I dig in that. We'll talk a little bit more on that later. But I just love the single-mindedness of Juggernaut. For those of you, he's like my favorite villain. But for those of you who have ever followed Juggernaut, he's not the most complex villain. He doesn't even have world domination like motives or anything like that. Like him and Black Tom will sit around in a bar all day and then decide to go rob a bank because they need money for more drinking. I mean, that's just the way he is. I mean, he does have this thing with Xavier that goes into more, and they made him a serious jobber and more modern Marvel and all that. But this guy was basically the only villain in old Marvel that could stand up to these guys. I mean, Hulk and Thor really couldn't do anything to this guy without some exterior help. So I love to see it. You need a strong villain to make a hero look good, right? And Marvel was really weak with that. They had some good brainy ones like Doctor Doom and all that, but I'm getting a little off course here. Long story short, though, is this book just gets down to it. It does what a comic book is supposed to do. It's such a throwback, and the fight is so well choreographed. This thing is in stages like you wouldn't believe. This is like the 30 minutes of the Marvel movies that people, that's all they care about, right? To see the fight scene. And this is what we're getting to. The writers know this. Tommy D does quite a bit of this in his editorial work too. And when he comes editor-in-chief, he seems to like books like this because he knows that's what sells. I mean, they're throwing buses around later on, train cars. It's always elevated every time. You know, it starts out with a few punches and throws, and it just elevates. And they're using weaponry. And finally, Mien Lenore is freaking used to knock out Thor. And at the very end, at the last panel, when all hope is lost, when Juggernaut is going in for the kill, and this also shows Juggernaut as a serious bad guy, right? He's gonna basically kill a downed opponent who's knocked out on the ground. Who comes to save the day? But the New Warriors and that mini splash down there. It's great. And last part too is how they introduce the New Warriors. Like most of like the first appearance books like this, which was just the last panel, this one they actually gave him a couple pages. And while they did not get into any serious character traits, they got into small character traits, especially if you read them later on here. Vance Astro or Marvel Boy is very unsure of himself, and he's always wanting to prove himself. Firestar is a very reluctant hero, right? She's kind of, it's just not her bellwether. You got the Dirk, the Dungeons and Dragons guys. In the pre-internet days, too, they must have had CompuServe or something here. It's pretty cool. Namerino just went and have a good time. And then there's the serious Taciturn Night Thrasher with his two trainers. So I think it's a perfect way to just mildly develop the team and set you up in the future without, once again, having to get bogged down in backstories. Well, my parents were killed, so I decided to take up training, and they show his years in Tibet training under, various trainers. No, this book needs to get back to the fight. So I agree with Kenny. I'm going to give this story a 4. It's nothing deep. It's nothing amazing. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it does the job. It entertains, and we want to see the fight. They give it to us in spades, so I give it a 4 for doing its job and doing it well. Let me stop sharing and doing a better job emceeing. There we go.
And there you go.
Yeah, don't worry about that pesky logic and plot holes that Roger was crying about.
We're in comics, baby. Just break some buildings.
Gets in the way, you know.
There's no romance or nothing here. I love it. All right. Well, Dave, you're going to be last up here. What say you, sir? Was this a story for the ages or definitely spinner rack fluff?
Well, I wouldn't call it a story for ages, but it is definitely an awesome throwdown, right? And when I saw that cover, I can grab it here. I was like, oh man, this better not be a rug pull. This better not like get me halfway into the issue and there's no fight, right? That's not, if I see this cover, deliver, right? And man, did it ever. Tons of cool action and it gets right on it. I mean, there's okay humor in it. It's not the greatest. The 80s thing on Hercules, it took a little time to make fun of British people. Yeah, there's some funny things going on anyway. And but yeah, it's almost all fight scene after fight scene in here. The whole thing's a story, choreographed, cool moves. Can you mention the that move with the hammer, the Juggernaut grab? I was like, when I read that, I was like, oh man, that was cool. That's the coolest thing I've seen the Juggernaut do, I think. And I'm a big Juggernaut fan too, don't get me wrong. And his thing with Professor X is that he's Professor X's brother. And the hammer is pronounced Mjolnir. I know this. I'm Viking. It's part of us. We're born knowing how to say Mjolnir. Anyway, this fight is super awesome. The story is exactly what I want to see in a Juggernaut versus Thor. I don't want to see Juggernaut and Thor hanging out, having a conversation. I don't want to see them talking to each other about their motivations. I love the fact that like they didn't even have a breakout scene for the Juggernaut, right? Like he's in jail, boom, he disappears. He's like, all right, I'm battling and I'm just going to keep destroying stuff. I don't know what I'm here for, but sooner or later it'll find me, right? And I was just like, nice, right? Like that's cool. That's good writing. Another thing I really appreciated was, and something you don't see often in these comic books, is he kept kind of having the crowd, the bystanders say stuff like, oh my God, you almost killed me, or watch it, buddy, and stuff like that. Like, so that gave a good sense of, the danger that people are in. Like often you'll see like Superman smashing apart buildings, or like the Hulk throwing a bus and into the Rhino, which deflects and nobody's hurt. Nothing's really destroyed. They never really touch on that. So this one kind of, nobody got hurt. Obviously they're following the comic code authority. You can't hurt bystanders, but it was a few close calls and the bystanders said stuff about it, which was cool. What else was good about it? Yeah, like if you're going to write a throwdown comic, this is how you write a throwdown comic. Just like, let's not worry about the dialogue. We're going to introduce the new warriors. They get 2 pages. Like, and not even 2 pages of their own. They get 1 page of their own and like a splash page panel. And so I like that too. I don't want to be in the middle of this big fight and then all of a sudden be taken like way off in the distance, talk about the new warriors for 4 pages. Then we'll come back to the fight. No, they didn't do that, right? They short and sweet. We got a sense of who these guys were. A couple of the characters you recognize, like Speedball and Firestar. And then, I mean, you probably maybe knew who Night Thrasher was and stuff, but and then like just back to the fight, and it was thrown out like they just kept grabbing like bigger and bigger objects. That like Itchy and Scratchy, where they're like hitting each other with the hammers and just getting bigger and bigger and bigger as it goes along. It seemed like that because they're like, I'll throw a car, well then I'll throw a bus, well then I'll throw a train. You know what I mean? Like keeps going and going and going. So that was cool. Like the pacing of the story just escalated and escalated and escalated. And there is a little bit of mystery there too, because Thor is like feeling weakened, and he shouldn't be because the Juggernaut, as powerhouse villains go, there's he is the strongest pretty much, And, unless you get big cosmic characters, whatever, but physically stronger. Yeah, I like the story. I gave the story a 4. I thought it was good. Story was definitely better than the cover, but the cover was there. It was like what the cover promised us was in the story, and I love that. Hate it when they don't do that.
Yep, no rug pull here. All right. Pretty high marks again for the story. So what say you, chat? Start putting your grades now, and then stay tuned for just a moment, and we're going to announce the next book for Graders Notes here. And this is Mr. Miracle's pick.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we don't know what it is. So
that's true. We don't know.
we have no idea.
No idea at all.
No idea. He just said, I have one. He has spoken.
Hope it's not that ASM 129 back there.
You want me to do it now? I thought you were doing it after. Sorry.
Well, we're letting grades come in. You can if you want to now, but I
Well,
didn't know if you want to
that's what they call it,
story.
a tease in the biz. Miracle.
No, let's do it. This is going to be their book for next time. So I picked this one for Kenny because I heard one time, and this was a while back, and I meant to pick this a while ago, that he didn't know what the Marvel's new universe was.
True.
And I was just like, oh man, how could you not know? The Marvel Universe is the new Coke of comics. Trust me, it was
New Coke.
You're crazy, man. This is the best series ever in the new universe.
Justice.
I got 1 through 32. I have issue 1 and number 32. Best.
Yeah, Justice went on for a little while, but I mean, there was other Kickers Incorporated, Spitfire. He unfortunately named DP7.
Thor brand.
Starring Bambi Woods. Yes.
Star Brand.
There you go.
Oh,
Star
wow.
Brand. I knew that was coming. I knew
First
it.
Necklace Hero. Star Brand number 1, huh?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Star Brand is one of the only characters that did make it into regular Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's I remember getting these off the rack and
you have the rare newsstand issue.
what's that?
Yeah.
You have the rare.
I have the what?
You got the newsstand issue down there.
Oh yeah.
The UPC showing its bars in all its glory.
I'm sure
The rare news. Those did not sell well on the newsstand, from what I recall. So.
Well, now with covers like that.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I'm sensing a roast session here.
It's going to be fun in 2 weeks, guys.
Yeah, Kenny, if that's going to be your first new universe book to read, at least I picked the best one of the bunch, I think.
All right.
Could have picked DP7, then everybody'd be like, no, don't do it.
And I just bought mine. It has a chance of getting to us sometime. All right. $8.46, man. The things I go through for this.
Not even going to try.
Yeah.
If I can't find it locally, I'm not even going to try.
Well, you're down in Florida again. You should have plenty of choices now. All right. So does everyone in chat got their grades in? Speak now, forever hold your peace. I'll give you a 5 count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Kenneth, what do we got here?
The chat landed on a 4.
4. Excellent taste, chat. Sometimes simple works. Sometimes simple just works. And you know what?
Yeah.
It was simple, and it was probably a little more aimed toward young adults, but it wasn't written for children. Like, it wasn't that like a childish story, you know? So that was pretty cool. And they didn't even try for the sympathy stuff, like having a child in danger because of the Juggernaut throwing things around, and Thor had to save him. All things Thor had to save in this book was himself, which was kind of a cool thing. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
I thought that was fantastic stuff.
I can enjoy light and breezy, you know? All right. And actually, you know what? As compared to like the Hulk versus Wolverine fight, at least this lead up made a little more sense, right? Airplane getting shot down just happened to be right there next to the Wolverine, right?
Yeah. Even though it's funny, Juggernaut's logic of, I just got teleported here. Well, I'm sure whoever did wants me to destroy everything, so
I'm just gonna walk.
Yep.
Sounds about right. That's what
I'm just going to act like a Juggernaut. That's essentially what he did. Just walk in a straight line. Nothing's going to stop me. I know nothing's going to stop me. Eventually, somebody's going to try to stop me, and I'm going to try to stop him.
Yeah.
Oh, I meant to mention this earlier. I've just noticed the new avatar for Wayne here. And really, when did you get the new Thanos makeup here? Looking good.
Yeah, interesting text.
Hey,
Yeah,
yeah.
Starlin
that's right.
approved.
Nice.
Did
Very
you
nice.
did you actually commission Starlin to do that for you?
Mhm.
Okay. Anyway, this issue is supposed to embody the irresistible force versus the immovable object. Yes, and it's actually comes into play in number 412. I highly recommend
Yep.
reading both of
The
them.
next one.
You actually meet that, which is in the ending is this is two-parter is amazing. Let me just say that it's one of my favorite two-parters of all time.
I'm gonna have to reread it.
Alrighty. So, without further ado, let's get on to the story, or the art within, because we have to have that coupled with the story. So, Roger, you're gonna be leading this one off. What did you think, sir, about the inks, pencils, and everything in between within? Are you in your cryogenic chamber again, Roger? Roger, your wit. Please stop. Please stop. Okay.
He has nothing to say on the topic.
All right. That's all he's got to say about that.
Back to
Okay. So
Roger.
come back. Anyway, I guess I'll lead it off until he comes back. So let's see here. I guess I'll share again. Oh yeah, he's gone hard. All right. He's gone dark, folks. Okay. This panel or this page says it all in this book. What I would not give for at least the top two panels here to be in poster form, because this just tells you everything you need to know about this book. You know, Juggernaut ramming Thor with a freaking train, man. It's beautiful conceptually, looks pretty good on the page, conveys great action, and this book is full of moments like this. They're not all quite as epic as this, like people have been saying. This book builds up and gets crazier and crazier and crazier as it goes. And then you got some classic Thor when he's taking a pounding this whole time and he's feeling sick and not feeling well, and Juggernaut thinks he's got him down, and he's like, still thy impudent tongue, and just bitch slaps him across the freaking train yard, right? Amazing moment, man. I'm not the world's biggest Thor fan. That is so Thor, and that's so good because he does get pissed every now and then. That's when he lays the smack down. There are some moments in here like Thor winding up, man, and putting a flame on the swirl marks there. Just shows you how hard he's throwing down. This perspective of this hammer right here is amazing. There are some great scenes. The silhouette of Juggernaut here. I'm not going to go into everything because I want to save something for everybody else. There are some really, really, really cool moments in here. This whole layout here, this one action, this whole page is getting taken up. Brilliant storytelling here. I'm not going to put too many more, accolades on it. Thor getting hammered here. It just, the action looks really, really, really good. And it's not all real close up to. A lot of these fights will get too close for comfort. You can't get any sense of scale or perspective. And here, Thor's getting knocked through freaking train cars. And later on, they're all getting knocked through buildings. Buses are flying around. It's ridiculous, man. And I love it. I freaking love it. I will say on the more sedate scenes, you can see it's not nearly as detailed. And sometimes there's shortcuts. I'm like, Juggernaut here looks pretty bad. Very undetailed, if that's even a word anymore. Some shortcuts like here, little tiny Juggernaut body. While it looks cool in the distance, and he is a hard thing to render because he's so wide, your eye obviously always goes to him and something just looks wrong. His outfit doesn't help with that either. Night Thrasher doesn't look too hot here in this static pose. Pretty good gymnast pose. I like that a lot. It's very Captain America-ish there. But lots of cool scenes. Like you got this overhead tilted shot here with Cord walking down the hallway. The new Warriors outside their uniforms, you barely ever see that when in their own comics. So that's kind of cool, even though Vance looks a little bit strange here. Masterson looks pretty weak. I got to say, I don't like his character design at all with his freaking Houston Oilers cap and his short jean shorts. It's kind of questionable decisions. And like I said, there's a few scenes like this where Juggernaut he looks like he needs to stay away from Ponderosa. But for the most part, I'm really pleased with it. It's nothing groundbreaking, but man, when the action goes, it goes. I love this overhead shot of Thor just coming in hot right down on top of Juggernaut's head. He's getting ready to come down, and he should have whacked him right there, but he kind of lands it. Thor is such a guy about fair play, He's strange like that. It gets the job done for sure. Oh, hey, Roger's back here. Let me add him here. And no real complaints. This is just really strong and probably a little bit better than average comic book art. And when the action hits, it's really good. I'm going to ding it a lot for the more sedate stuff and some obvious liberties with some of the more distant shots. So I'm going to give it 3.5. still strong, still gets the job done. And man, I just got to take you right back to that page one more time because that's like two of the best like action panels almost ever. Friggin' Juggernaut bearing in on Thor, and we'll leave it on that one. So I'm going to give it a 3.5. All right. Sir Roger, did you want me to leave the visual aid up, Roger, or did you want to? Okay.
Yes, please do. Please do.
All right.
Yeah, let's
Your
go
turn,
to like. Me. Okay, good. Let's go to like the second page there or so. I mean, I think your analysis is pretty much spot on. Those static shots, the non-action is very blah. I mean, they're just like, there's nothing special. I mean, he doesn't have especially good detail on the faces, not especially good expression. The Thor's okay. He looks a little bit more like, debonair and devilish, but I like that top one there where the Juggernaut is imprisoned. And I want to contrast that. Right there. That's the way the Juggernaut should look. Very huge, just huge. He's massive, right? Huge arms, huge torso, big thighs, just very, very filled, right? And he does a good job there of sort of giving you that detail. And then go up a few more. And the way that the little details he puts in, you're right. The perspectives he has, I really like that part of Friends. He has really good variety of perspective, isometric, first person, the longitudinal shots. I like that variety because it shows that the fight was going on over a long period of time and a large area, and they kept moving it. It was in the city, then it moved to a little bit more of a suburban or a train yard, etc. So I like that the way that he applied the art to the story really fit well, I thought. I give him credits for that. Keep going there. That's obviously a very veiled look. Yeah, that one there where Juggernaut he looks very frumpy there. He looks very out of shape. That's a very lazy panel there. I mean, that to me, that's inexcusable. And that's why I'm saying about Friends. He can have really good stuff and then really average or even below average stuff. Very uneven. But in this particular comic, I think he elevated his art a little bit more than the issues that he had. I love the dynamics of when a car's coming, you see that the energy burst or the star burst coming out of it. I have a couple little issues. If you see, keep going. I think another couple that when he's I think another one. Sorry, Genome, another one over. Keep going. Where he's revolving the hammer, around the tong, and you got flames coming out of it. Now, is that friction? Right there. Is that friction, or shouldn't that be more like electricity because he's the god of thunder? Again, there's these little inconsistencies. When the hammer is grabbed and Juggernaut hits a ride. Great action. You can almost feel the movement. The way that he has it with the trail behind him there and the legs flailing. That's exactly how it would be because a Juggernaut doesn't fly, so he wouldn't have a lot of control over it. And then of course that panel there where there is that again where Jay was saying the unstoppable meets the irresistible. Really good panel. Crock-a-boom. Again, the way that he puts action into the story elements and the way that it progresses chronologically, it's very fluid. I have to give him that. Again, love that top bottom isometric view where it's so powerful. It's going through various trains in that train yard. Okay, I'm not gonna do every little thing here, but I'm not a big Ron Friends fan, but in this case, he did a better than average work on this. I will agree with that. I also gave it a 3. Almost gave it a 3.5. There's just so many little things, inconsistencies that kind of bothered me. I know I'm like weird that way, but when I'm reading a comic, I'm like, why is that flame coming? Why does he look frumpy? Why is that he a little bitty thing in the way down there? But honestly, it's a really well done action comic. I have to give him that 3.
All right, 3 coming in there. And, I just noticed, too, looking at this splash page, someone's got their speaker on. I just noticed Firestar. I don't think she's ever drawn like that again, with her hair actually on fire. It's interesting. But, all right, thank you for that, Metarog. Let's see. I think it's going to be Kenny next. Kenneth, sir, did you want the visual aid to remain up, or did you want to use your own?
I'll use the visual aid because it's very crisp on the screen. So if we could start from the beginning here.
I certainly can.
Right at the top. Let me wet my whistle real fast.
Prepare thyselves.
Okay. There is something that, in this comic anyway, that I think this Friends fella displays in a masterful way. Straight up masterful. And we can skip through the first page because even though I think the facial expressions are done pretty well, you get a real sense of personality from Hercules' face there. I think faces are well rendered throughout. But once we get to the next page, the third page, and even the fourth page, once Juggernaut shows up in town, let's even bounce forward one more. Okay, here's the first fantastic example of how Friends is a master in this issue of showing motion in the most effective and dynamic way possible. Sequential art, right? Comic book sequential art. I remember in like the How to Draw Comic the Marvel Way, there was a cool illustration that kind of supports this point of it shows a hero throwing a punch, right? And he starts from way back, and then it shows where he finishes the punch. And Kirby draws every single frame like you would a cartoon of the punch. And he says, all right, so the guy throws the punch. To be an effective storyteller in sequential art, you need to choose the right frames to best show the art. You never want to show something in mid-swing. You either want to show it winding up or fully through, right? And then the other thing you can do to display it is the camera angle. So those are the two things you can play with pretty much. First example, the way he transforms into Thor. Laying out those 3 panels right in a row, raising it up, smacking it, badass Thor pose. Fantastic transformation. Let's proceed on to the next page. Even that tap on the shoulder of Hercules there is a perfect way in one panel that just gave you the information of Hercules wasn't paying attention. He was in his own world on the headphones, interrupted, and that shows him like snap back into reality. He wasn't paying attention. I was like, wait, where am I again? All in one page, all in one panel. Fantastic. Thor's dropping down on Juggernaut with that angle there. Splendid. Showing Thor just before he hits the ground. You don't give him the badass hero landing like they do in all the Marvel movies. Show him right as he's about to drop. And I like how in the Juggernaut, you get the wind up and then the pow. Like, what a great way to just drop the beats. And then there you got Thor flying. I think he just displays it so well throughout. And as we go on throughout here, you can keep going. Also, on this page here prior, when I also love the chunky, like 6-panel grid or 4-panel grid sometimes, very Kirby-esque. I've always loved that from the Silver Age Thor comics. I think he's kind of channeling that a little bit. But anytime this guy has an opportunity to give you an up-close shot of Thor, the facial expressions are so top-notch. Like that up-close Thor panel, man, that grimace, that well-executed, fantastic. We can continue on to, as far as this, just very efficient. I like the little like digital "It's War, Total War." I don't know what that's about. I was confused by what that means. Is that what the message said? Is that all Thor put in the SOS? It's war, total war. I don't know if that's what it means or if that's whatever. But anyway, we can. Oh, by the way, Namorita. Can we just talk about when we show? In the middle of dropping trowel. Okay, I see you. Good shot there. We can continue on. Great Thor face, right up close on that one. I mean, boom, the page that you pointed out. I mean, that's it right there. There's so many ways. If your writer says Juggernaut is going to throw a train at Thor, and to choose to show it that way and take up that much real estate, and like you show, he does it a couple times where he's like shows the same shot, but just like 2 seconds further along. Great choice to do that. My critique on, I got to name the negative now, which is the guy's not good at drawing Juggernaut. He just isn't. I think his Thor looks almost flawless in every panel, and his Juggernaut looks off in almost every panel. And on that punch that's on that, he really, for a guy who seems to be so good with knowing how to do dynamic camera angles and stuff, that is not a good. It looks like more of a Thor rising from the dead hand than Thor punching. We should have been like tilting that camera upwards with the punch coming towards. So I don't think he dropped the ball on that one. The hammer throw, the angle is fantastic. Thor looks awesome in that top middle panel. What a beautiful, no dialogue, just quiet. So good. As we go on, let's see. Oh, I mean, this is another example of, dude, perfect way to, in sequential art, lay out this scene. You showing how fast that hammer is coming in. Flames, the angle, the speed lines, and you just cut straight to, tonk or whatever. No speed lines. Everything's dead. All momentum is dead, and Juggernaut standing completely still. What a way to display how fast the hammer was going and what happened to it. And to show I love that third panel, the hammer spinning back towards Thor and him grabbing on is also displayed like masterfully, dude. We can go on to the smash scene where they collide. Look how cool Thor looks. For a guy who's just taking a shot, that looks so cool. That pose, the cape, illustrating the fabric and the shades in it, so good. That panel below it, them flying through 5 different trains with the aerial shot, brilliant. Man, so good. And I think we're rounding towards the end here with the debut of the crew, which is done pretty good too. But man, the thing that really stuck out to me the whole time was the way he's showing movement and how he decided which moments to put in the panel and the camera angles and stuff. Really, really good. But considering Juggernaut's the big baddie and you really didn't have a handle on drawing the character, missed opportunities to make Juggernaut make me like pause and really admire the Juggernaut art, because I was doing that with Thor the whole time, getting a kick out of how he was drawing Thor, and Juggernaut not as much. With all that being said, I give it a 4.
Oh, a 4. Well, that's getting pretty hard marks for you. This book is.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this book.
All right, Kenny, you got a 4 there. And last but certainly not least, Dave, what say you? Oh, if you're at a good stopping point there. And do you want me to leave the visual aid up? Your mic is muted, by the way. Do you want to leave the visual aid up, or you want to use your book?
No, I'll use the book here.
Okay. And
you guys really covered this. There's not much more for me to say here. There's, like, you've seen so much worse when it's just like when you get your plane shots, like just regular people hanging out kind of things. It's okay. It doesn't strike me as being bad. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we've seen this where you just look at everything and it's like, ugh, this is bad. But yeah, some of these panels, fantastic. The train, the whole fight scene, all these big, kaboom, friggin' panels like that. I love that stuff. There's tons of that. What's it called again, Dave? Where you use some weird sound, write it out.
onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia. Yeah. So there's tons of that throughout this whole thing, which is really throwbacky. Like I don't do that nearly as much. And then, of course, the cool Beta Ray Bill story. There's lots of good art in this one too. Not as good even. Like I think maybe even comparing it, I was like, this one's not as much of a big fight. it's cool to have a Beta Ray Bill story. It's cool that he's kind of in that same pose that Juggernaut started out in. He's captured by these guys. Yeah, you guys said it all. I really enjoyed the art. I really enjoyed the fight scenes. I really like this, happy Juggernaut. Yes, right? Like, I'm free. But yeah, he's not the greatest at drawing the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut varies in size all through this whole thing. Like, sometimes he's really big, sometimes he's not so big. Sometimes he's like, looks like he's even small, right? And all of a sudden he's carrying that train again. And anyway, I did like the art. I thought it was really well, visual storytelling of a fight scene, right? I'm glad this wasn't a big, drawn out, dramatic, wordy comic, because I don't think that this artist would have done nearly as good a job. Those panels where the action wanes off are not as good. They're adequate. I would give those panels a serviceable, which is, we've had a lot worse, that's for sure. But I would give the action sequences quite a bit more, just because he really elevated those action sequences. I can tell he was probably reading that script going, yes, like, I'm going to do this, man. I want to draw the Juggernaut throwing a train. Who doesn't want to draw the Juggernaut throwing the train? Yeah, I landed on a 3.5 for the interior, right? A little wonky in some spots. Juggernaut's not the best rendered in most panels, but these fight action sequences, what? I do you like this stuff by Ron Lim here at the back, right? All this Beta Ray Bill stuff. A couple things are a little off even on his. But this must have been Ron. It's just getting started with Marvel. Anyways, it's cool. 3.5.
All right, 3.5 coming in. We know we've only been off by 0.5 between you and I this whole night. So
Was that right? Yeah.
good score. I think we can all agree it was pretty strong, and even the worst parts were just workmanlike. They weren't awful by any stretch of the imagination. Just kind of stiff. Like, when they were standing around, there wasn't like a whole lot of limb articulation. It was kind of flat looking, but yeah, pretty good, solid art throughout. Okay, so let me get to that. Okay. What say you, Chad? It's your turn to give us your grade. What did you think with the art within? If you hadn't seen this before and you saw what we had shared here on the screen, or in Dave's case, the book, what did you think? I think consensus with us is pretty good, but what's most important is what you think. And we'll give you a few moments to throw your grades out there, and then we will move on to the last category, which is the concept of this book. And yep, scores are coming in now. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm going to try to be very objective on the concept, because I fanboy out to these two-parters really hard, because I just love them so much. They're like some of my favorite books when I was younger. So, but I'll try to be objective with it. But as I did say earlier, for those of you who've never read it, the action does not stop in the second part. It only ramps up. And it's pretty good. And it's actually a pretty good look at some of the makeup of the New Warriors, too. A lot of these character traits do carry over into the mainline series, which we have right here in the gold version. But, yep. So definitely check it out. Get it. You can see it digitally, too. You don't have to go buy the books. The Who doesn't want a good Thor getting his butt whipped book? I mean, come on.
It doesn't happen that often, so.
And the ending is one for the ages too. I'm not lying. It's so good. I just love how they close it out.
Oh, there was another thing I was going to mention about the story, which I thought was odd, where he said that, where Masterson was saying, well, why would this happen? Why would these villains, attack superheroes? Hello?
Masters of Evil.
4 has an different Fantastic Four, the Masters of Evil. All they want to do is get rid of you guys.
Yep.
That's why I think that, the writer was sort of he sort of tried to fit the story into what the action was, not the other way around, right? So he needed to have that kind of that attitude so that Hercules wouldn't be part of it, and it seemed a little too artificial to me. But the actual entertainment value of this comic is really far up there.
And I wonder too if they try to do like an off-screen explanation of why no other like superheroes came to help, since it's right there in the middle of like New York City and no one's around but these new warrior kids, right? And all of a sudden, but Avengers is right there, Fantastic Four's right there. No one came to the aid, but so he had to fight everyone alone. So,
New York is definitely the hotbed of heroes in Marvel. So
they should have brought the Punisher out to throw some.
I'm surprised there's any New York left after like the 80s, because every other issue. It was half destroyed, you know. In Avengers, you know, the Act of Vengeance, they actually totaled the whole island, you know. So it's amazing to me that any boroughs exist.
I thought it was cool that the civilians and stuff were kind of acknowledging that fact in this book, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Who's going to pay for this? You just wrecked my place, and he actually blamed Thor for getting thrown into his building, which is you're right. That was interesting. And it also showed how cold-blooded Kane Marker was. He picked up a bus and it was full of people. It wasn't just like a bus that was sitting around. He's like Godzilla.
Thor has a
Thor couldn't smash it. He had to use his hammer and put that funnel, which I think that again it sort of shows the contrast there between the Juggernaut, his utter lack of respect for life, and Thor as the protector.
Yeah, that disregard for human life would give even a Madden rock troll pause or some line like that. That was a classic. I love it. Okay, so Kenny, if you need the scores, let me know. But if not, let us know what you came up with.
Oh, here's the line. He says, "I deplore the meaningless destruction of private property." Thor says.
That's so Thor, man.
So Thor.
Yeah.
That gerbil never comes out. But anyway, it's awful.
Yeah, that was a bit forced there, I think. Wow.
The chat came to a 3.5 on the art.
Excellent taste, chat. Excellent.
The whole time I've been about half a point more enthusiastic than the chat the whole time.
I've been half a point less.
Yeah. So, at least it's consistent. We'll meet in the middle somewhere.
The New Warriors are your favorite character, I know.
I remember liking them back in the 90s, or actually late 80s or whatever. But
yeah, I love Night Thrasher so much.
Yeah, there were some decent characters. I mean, Firestar was all right because she was kind of torn, didn't really want to be a superhero, but that was kind of cool. Speedball just a goof.
And of course, Miracle's favorite, Speedball.
He loves him. What's his super power? He bounces around.
Yeah, he's got the whole 10-issue run. That's probably behind all those issues you see back there on the wall.
He's probably drawing Speedball right now.
Of course.
Don't be fronting, Dave. You know they're back there. All right. So for this last panel, I'll go first. Our last subject, and that is the concept. I'll try to keep this one a little bit shorter and sweeter since we've been effusing over this book so much. It's probably running long, but only an hour and 20, so not bad. The concept of this book, okay, nothing new here, but it's a good concept. If you're going to introduce a new team, it's probably safest to do it in a well-established book. Usually it was in Spider-Man's and the X-Men's, and a little more popular, but they decided to go with Thor in this one, and I think it was a winner. I think this is really nothing new, but a good concept. And we got a little more than just, and Marvel did this a lot in the mid-'80s, is just giving you that last splash page or even small panel introduction to the team. That's all you saw of them. In this one, you got 2 pages of new warriors, right? So perfect kind of introduce them. Like I said earlier in the story, they didn't waste time with too much backstory other than a little bit of Night Thrasher. You know, what's their motivations? Who cares? They want to go fight superheroes or supervillains. It's great. Save that for their book, right? You can learn more about them then. Let's get back to the fight. So you throw 2 powerhouses together fighting each other, and then it's like you put the good guy into a vulnerable situation, and you let the new people save the day. That's a good way to transition a new superhero or superhero team into the fold. Now, we don't know anything about them. We don't know what their power set is, other than Firestar seems to has a flame about her, so she's a fire character, but we don't really know what anyone else does. If you had sharp eyes, you could probably tell Nimrita's Atlantean or whatever. But we don't know what the other people are, unless you're an old-time reader of a few of these comics or characters. But I think it's a really good way they brought this concept around to introduce a new team. It's nothing new, but it is strong, you know. And unlike a lot of first appearance books, they actually that was almost incidental to this book, to be honest with you. It was not the main reason for this book. The main reason for this book is to watch Thor and Juggernaut throw down, I'd say. And heck, let's just tag in a new team we want to introduce here shortly. So I think it's a really good idea. I mean, it's nothing revolutionary. I'm going to give it a 3.5 because it's strong. They put the right artist, I think, on this book. They gave it the right kind of story, and they gave it just enough lead up to make it, who's this team? It's kind of interesting. And it was cool, too, that they did it right in the middle. So they waited till the action even got started, gave you that minute little breather to say, hey, we're going to do this new team. They got the bat signal up there, except for it's under America Online. But pretty good, not masterful, but pretty good way of doing it. And like I said, nothing new in the sun, but I give it 3.5. It was really solid.
Excellent.
Well, to our resident, to our resident Rembrandt up here, Dave, what say you on the concept of this book? Something new or just the same old, same old?
Well, it's definitely not a new concept to have two big, strong characters fight one another. But having Thor versus the Juggernaut, that's a cool concept. I like the concept of just being like, let's just throw down, and that's old school. So there's nothing really great about the concept of the book, but it definitely how they did it was good, and you got to put your own spin on things, right? If you're going to do an old school throwdown book, which is like they've been doing this since Superman Action Comics #2, right? Where they've had these big throwdown stuff all the time. So concept wise, nothing news going on here. Good way to introduce another team. So I did give them a little bit of points on that, but yeah, concept was my lowest mark, and I gave it a serviceable, a 2.5, right? It's a typical comic story. Let's do it. Right.
All right, Ursula coming in. Lowest score of the night. Yeah, that's the lowest score of the night. So, and if that's the lowest score of the night, your book's doing all right. So, all right. So, Kenneth, sir, concept-wise, is this book a hit or a miss?
Well, concept-wise, I feel like there's two major concepts here, and I think they both have different success levels. The concept of we're going to do a throwdown issue. Thor always seems to have some of the best throwdown issues. That I forget the issue number, but the one that Eric Larson and Stan Lee do together, and it's a Thor and Hulk throwdown issue. That is my all-time favorite throwdown issue, by the way. It is such a fun book. Anyway, the concept of throwdown to choose Juggernaut. I love when X-Men villains cross over. Like I always got a kick out of Magneto showing up in like Cap or Avengers. So it's cool to see the X-Men villains show up. Juggernaut and Thor brawl in Throwdown is very solid, well executed, good idea. Introducing the new characters. You always want to piggyback your cameo into a successful title, right? But as much as, I have a sense of nostalgia for the two books where they show up in Thor, I really do think that Thor is an inappropriate book to bring the New Warriors in. Doesn't make a ton of sense. I don't think the New Warriors are the type of heroes that Thor would really interact with. They're kind of more street level. I mean, I know Firestar's got some, she's fairly powerful, Marvel boy, but I still look at them as like a street level team. And them, first off, Thor, if Thor needs help, if I'm in the New Warriors, I'm like, I might not even show up. I might be embarrassed if I showed up to help Thor. Like, who do you think you are, Speedball? What are you going to do to help Thor beat Juggernaut? Like, it just seemed like it wasn't the best fit. I almost chuckle when I see them show up on the last panel. Like, okay, guys, good luck with that. I think it'd be more appropriate to intro the New Warriors in a more street level type here, like, a Daredevil book, Spider-Man, maybe the Avengers. But I always thought it was a weird spot to plug them into in the Thor story. So as far as that concept goes, I don't think they made the right call, frankly, on how to properly intro the New Warriors. Because Thor ends up really resolving the issue anyway with those guys. Like, basically, they show up to be a distraction. So, with that being said, cool throwdown concept. Nothing too crazy there, but they did it well. And a kind of a strange intro of the new Warrior team. I agree with Miracle on this one, actually. I'll call this one a serviceable, right down the middle at 2.5.
All right, 2.5. Rather pedestrian scores are coming in, but hey, you got to falter somewhere usually. So last and not least, as I always say, Roger, what say you about the concept of this book? Aces or spades?
Well, I guess I looked at it from a different perspective than Kenny and Miracle, because sometimes you have to look at the comic, and you have to look at how it fits in the grander scheme, right? And the Act of Vengeance crossover was one where various masterminds were trying to get rid of their competition, which is the superheroes, by matching them up with villains that were more prepared to take them on than they were, and had either matched or surpassed their power level. So I'm taking that concept as part of this issue, because it's it's an underlying factor, and I think that you have to sort of take that into consideration. I also take into consideration that even though that they introduced the new Warriors here, they didn't overhype them. There's not like a blurb on the cover that says, "Oh, and don't miss the last panel for an exciting new super team." Yeah, none of that stuff. It was a very subtle kind of introduction to that team. And Kenny's right there, more street level than cosmic. But I think that they actually did fit well here, because they didn't have to defeat the Juggernaut. They just had to put Thor over the top. And I'm kind of mixing the concept of this one and 412 together, but it's hard for me in my mind to separate the two, because they're so enmeshed. But I think that the concept here actually elevated the art and writing team, which I find very average normally. But because the material they had was juicier than usual, it sort of to me helped them get to a slightly higher level than they have achieved previously. Like their Spider-Man run to me was average at best, and for Spider-Man you would think they would that's a character that should always be having top flight teams, in my opinion. And here I think they did give Thor a pretty good team for what the situation was, and that's why I elevate the concept a little more. Again, there's really three concepts. Kenny said two: the Act of Vengeance, the actual fight, the actual battle, how it turned out, and then the new Warriors introduction, which I thought again was well done, only because it wasn't hyped. It was sort of just thrown in there, but to me, it was once they went in there, I knew how this was going to end. But I still like that they gave that it wasn't just some kind of weird factor that put Thor over the top. There was intervention that saved him, and then later on when he recovered, he was able to take care of business. So I thought the concept was like you, Genome, a little bit better than what our two cohorts think. I also gave it a 3.5. I think, considering the junk that was thrown out there, things from left field, the fact that this was like a subtle introduction, the fact that it was seamlessly put into the Act of Vengeance larger storyline, and the fact that the fight was well done. It wasn't like it wasn't one of those deflections or a substandard couple panels. No, this was the whole thing. I give it a 3.5. I think it was well done concept.
All right. Good grade there, sir. And speaking of good grades, we want to hear your grades, chat. What say you on the concept of this book? Especially if you read the second one, you can maybe take it into consideration. But just from hearing from us tonight, and if you read this great book before, let us know what you think in the comments below, and we will move on to our closing statements. Oh, yes. My goodness. I like
Bub's comment here. He's never seen Roger in that chair. Looks like you're about to solve a murder mystery.
I know, Dr. Holmes.
Indubitably.
I think he needs a white cat so he can be like Dr. Claw and give me the voice.
Yeah.
Take that, gadget. You sound like Ole Anderson. But all right. We got 1-4 coming in there from Jay. Magic Lasso coming in with a 4 as well.
high marks on the concept from the
Very
chat
hard
so far.
marks.
Wow.
It was interesting. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, I'm not sure if this was maybe the best launch title for them, but the same facet, I guess. Yeah, they did serve as distraction. And for those of you who have not read the second book, like, you know how it is with new teams and new characters, they like to overpower them and let them effortlessly take care of the bad guy. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in the slightest. So I like how they handled that too.
You know,
What's that,
I
Dave?
just didn't. I guess comparing it to the Thor, this era of Thor was not my favorite. You know, they had Masterson in there. They had a lot of goofy villains, Mongoose and Quicksand. You know, it just wasn't. You know, it wasn't to me classic Thor. We just came off the Simonson stuff, which was very higher level Asgardian.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Fangruff and all that stuff. It wasn't a good era. But this one to me stood out. Like Genome, that 2-issue story arc stood out to me. So the fact that it just stood out means to me that the concept was better than the rest of the stuff they were doing around it.
Yeah, that works too. I really like in 412, you get a really good establishment of the psyche of Night Thrasher too. But I'll let you guys read about it. It's pretty funny, man, what happens in there. And all right, I think we have our scores here. Looks like it's going to be a 4. Unless my math is off here. Let's see. Have any further grades? We'll give you a 5 count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. The stock exchange is closed, so we're going to go with the 4 here for the concept. And let me figure out the total, and we will give you the total afterwards. We'll go ahead and leave it in. Oh, wow. It's like a comic book panel. I just realized that now. We'll leave it in comic book panel form here when we go over our overall scores. So, Dave, since you led off, why don't you go ahead and lead us off with the overall scores for this book, please?
Yeah, so overall, like I always say to people, you know, my overall score is a lot. Would I recommend this for someone else to read? Definitely. And you know, part 2, what do I want to keep reading? Yeah, I've got 412 right here, right, which I also haven't read yet. You know, it's in my short box of reading, which is like overflowing into 2.5 short boxes now. But yeah, definitely this one just moved up on the list so I can see how the rest of the fight plays out. So that always plays well, right? If I want to recommend the first 2 books. And yeah, the art was a little wonky for me, though. There was a few tropish and cheesy things that they kind of did. I know they wanted to get to the action quick, but maybe a couple of the things they glossed over a little too quick. You know, you could have used a little bit of story at certain points. So I did give it a 3.5. Definitely would recommend this book, but not perfect, but you know, still good. Still a recommended pick.
All right, very fair score, sir. Kenneth, my friend, what say you on the overall score of this book?
Yeah, the cover, I went with a strong 4. I think it's great. Not perfect, but I think it earns that high mark on the cover for just the concept uniqueness alone. The art inside, big fan of what was going on in there. Gave that a 4 as well. The writing I hit with the 4.5. I mean, I do grade things on a curve. I do, and I don't know if I'd call it a curve, but
The Kenny curve.
You know, I do. Yeah, there's a Kenny curve. There's like, I think what kind of book it is and what the goal is matters. Like, if I think of the best written Simpsons comic book that's brilliant, sharp as a tack, really witty, and like great story in a perfect Batman story. You know what I mean? Or issue of Watchmen. You want different things from them. So I kind of do consider that. And I think for what this was, a brawl and just meant to kind of be like a fun, relatively light read comic book, man, really well done. And I thought the pace moved really well. So I was a fan. And I love Thor speak, you know, so that was good. So high on that, and the concept, it was, you know, I kind of felt like that was middle of the road. So I I think I'm just gonna, I definitely would recommend it to others, and I think I'll just overall stamp it with the 4, man. Overall 4. What a fun book with great art.
All right, 4 coming in. Great grade there. So, Roger, pretty high marks so far. Are you going to continue the trend, or are we going on the downward slope here?
Well, this I'm really kind of breaking my rules for my final grade on this one. And I'll tell you why. Because the higher grades, or the 3.5s, are the cover and the concept, which to me have a little less weight than the art and the story, which were good, but didn't blow me away. A lot of plot holes. Could have been done a lot better. They were just little things that bothered me. And when things bother me, that tells me that, I have higher expectations for what it is. Okay. But I'm going to break my rules. I'm going to go the holistic route here, greater than the sum of its parts, because Kenny said it, right? And it's true. This is fun. This is entertaining. This is immersive fun. Like it's sort of, you can get lost in the fun. If maybe I'm not explaining that exactly correct, but so to me that elevates it a little bit higher. And there's not a lot of comics I can say that to. I mean, if I read it with just a nitpicking eye, I would give it a 3.5, right? I got a 3.0. But when I look back and I reread it again, and of course I reread 412 too, so that might have kind of elevated a little bit more. I just had a lot of fun. I thought, again, I think the New Warriors were a fresh concept at the time. In the late 80s, team of teenagers. Of course, you had the Teen Titans from before, but Marvel, had the X-Men, which was in the Silver Age way back when. And these guys were all different, from all different ways of life, all different powers, all different personalities and troubles and hang-ups. And so I really like that they kind of wedged that in there. It didn't exactly fit with Thor, you're right there, but I still think it was good enough, that it was surprising, but yet not exploitive. So I'm going to bump it up a little bit. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think it's definitely, if you want an entertaining read, don't go into it to the detail we have. Just sort of go with it with the ride. This is a great 2-issue story arc.
All right. Nice breakdown there, sir. So we have a 3.5, a 4, and a 3.5. Let's see if I break this impasse. And spoiler alert, I don't. But let's talk about it just a little bit. So for the cover, I gave it a 4. It was close to 3.5, but it did just enough to stand out among others of its ilk. And it's just a cool concept, mostly well executed. A few little problems with it, but I enjoyed it. Other than Juggernaut being brown or rust. Don't make him rust. Make him bright red, regal as he is. He's a king among bad guys. So yes, I gave it a 4 for the cover. For the story within, I also gave it a 4. I think this hit on all cylinders on what a comic book story should be like. It was unpretentious. It got to the point. If I want deeper reading, I'll go pick up a graphic novel, man. Give me Thor. I want to see a throwdown, for goodness sakes. And we'll throw a team in there, too. A new team's coming out. So great fight. This is not one of those when you put the two big guys together, 3-panel ordeals. I can't remember who said that originally here, but yeah, they didn't bait and switch you. They gave you over half this book was fight. So sweet action, and it continues on to the next one. And I sure wanted to read the next one too. I guess that's more a concept. But so I gave the story a 4. Interior art, I gave it 3.5. I didn't like the static shots too much. But man, when the action was on, it was on. And I think it was just so well drawn as far as that. He tells a real good story as like Kenny was saying, like in a punch progression. He's very good at that. And there's a couple really standout panels. But honestly, there's nothing too exceptional here. It's just well done. It doesn't look so good in the sedate moments, so I gave it a 3.5. Much better than average, I'd say. For concepts, nothing new here, but it's a strong concept. And they didn't have first issue-itis. There is an element of mystery, what's going on with Thor. A lot of people weren't really regular Thor readers, so they might not know who this Masterson guy is. Why is Herc sitting on the couch? That's kind of cool, but I mean, if you're gonna and you're introducing a new, more street level super team, of course we don't know that yet, but I think it's a good way to introduce them. And they didn't cheap out by just saying, "Okay, watch Thor fight the Hulk or Juggernaut or the Thing or whatever," and then they fight for 3 panels and realize the error of the ways, and they walk off. And here's the new team that told us that this guy was okay. They didn't do that. So I think it was a pretty good introduction issue. So gave it 3.5. Nothing new in the sun, but that's what it is. So actually, if you let math aside, this comes out to like a 3.625, whatever. And I would have to round down to 3.5. But I think this book is a little more than some of its parts. And I'm going to go up to a 4. And I think it's fair because I would definitely recommend this book to anyone. It's not going to make you sit up and extrapolate every panel. What did I miss something there? Did I miss a clue? It's not like that kind of book. This is the summer blockbuster of comic book reads. Turn your brain off, have fun with it, enjoy the art, and it's probably a hot collectible. Is that a 9.6 you got back there, Kenny, on 412?
It's
I
a
just noticed that.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm gonna give this book a 4. I think it was a strong one. I have tons of nostalgia for this book. I got this during the height of my collecting days, and I have reread these issues so many times when I was younger, and it was great to revisit it. So, a little bit of nostalgia bump up, give it a 4. All right, and I took the liberty of getting the mean average there for the chat, and it came out to a 3.5. So pretty good scores all across the board here. Nothing too bad. And our worst score for the evening is a 2.5, so serviceable. So we've definitely done a lot worse. We'll see in 2 weeks how that's going to turn out. But all right, so
I have a feeling it's going to be quite a different episode.
Oh man! So
that's
for
the
those
feeling.
who didn't see it earlier, it's going to be Starbrand #1 from the new universe. I still think we should have done justice, but all right, fine. Starbrand it is. I do kind of like that trade dress, to be honest with you. It's got kind of a Captain Marvel or Quasar kind of feel to it, right? With a little energy.
Yeah. There's a word for that. It's called ripping off.
That shit looks like Phi Lavelle now.
I thought Monster would have been the best pick, but that's just me.
Quasar was the Starbrand for a while.
So, Dave, are you ready with the artwork, or do you need more time to?
No, I'm good.
Brush up. All right, let's do the artwork reveal. We should only announce that before the show. I always forget to say that.
This better be a juggernaut.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Wow,
aces, Dave, aces.
You colored all that in?
I know he did the color work
Man.
himself too.
Love
You
it.
got the ink going.
Quick with the markers.
That is a mean-looking juggernaut.
Yeah.
That's what he needs to look like. Mean, not bloated.
Yeah, exactly. Not that frumpy, bottom that he shows. Come on.
It's all good.
All
He's-
right.
Powered by
Beautiful.
Sidorak. Okay, he's not like some guy who's sitting around eating wings and hamburgers. Come
No,
on. He's mystical.
he's the epitome of physical development as far as earthly creatures, like the Hulk, right? Same thing. Not an ounce of fat on his body.
Yeah, exactly.
Jay gave it
he's
a 5.
He's all muscle.
All
5,
muscle. He's a brawn. He's a brawn machine. So, okay. That was the show. Appreciate everyone tuning in. This is the portion of the show where we talk about, just real briefly, what's coming up on our channel. So, Dave, do you have anything new coming up on your channel, or what's launching?
Well, tomorrow we'll have another undervalued video coming out now.
Any sneak peeks? Who should we look at?
No sneak peeks.
It'll be Thor 11. That's my sneak
Ooh.
peek. Thor 11's undervalued.
Ooh.
Yeah, for those with Maseratis, yes, it is.
That's a red herring if ever I've heard one.
It got a little hot because there was a rumor that HBO or something was going to do a new Warrior show or whoever it was. I'm not sure.
And they shot a pilot episode for a series that went nowhere.
It must have been terrible.
Yeah, probably was.
You
It had the
gotta
Squirrel
be-
Girl in it.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be bad. If it's based off a new character, it's going to be bad. If they go with the bottom of the barrel characters, it's probably going to be bad, too. But I don't think this thing's going to depreciate. I think these things will stay decent collectors throughout the years. So whether they make a movie or not. In fact, it might do better if they don't make a movie. But they'll live fondly in my memories. So, Roger, what say you? What's coming up here in the near future on the Roger channel?
Well, there's no Faces chat on Monday, but actually on Tuesday I'm doing a stream with J Hood Creative and From Heroes to Icons, and we're going to be doing a deep dive into John Byrne and all his work from the 70s through modern. first episode's on my channel on Tuesday. I'm doing the Bronze Age. Then Jay Hood's doing the Copper, and Jason's doing the Modern.
Nice.
Should be a good
So
time.
don't miss it. 7:00 on Tuesday, my channel.
Be there or be uninformed, one or the other. So finally, Kenneth, what comes up on Mr. 84's channel here in the near future?
Yeah, I don't know. There's not any real concrete planned programming, but I will say, I just got word that my CGC submission is graded, and it's on a truck coming to Massachusetts. Finally, some of them they were like different, because I sent a whole batch of like 10 or 12, and some of them were different like classes or whatever,
Different tiers.
Tiers, yeah. And so they have different return dates, but there's a 7-book tier coming back, so plenty of CGC goodness, and it's going to arrive on I think Tuesday, so sometime next week. Basically, I'm going to pop those babies open, and we're going to do a little CGC and see how we did, kind of thing. So
Nice.
Cool.
Did you pay for expedited service?
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I did. And nowadays that means 6 months instead of 8 months.
Yeah, that's basically they opened my box 2 months ago, over 2 months ago. I have everything back since then. I got 12 books there, but
yeah, it's been there for a while.
How long would it take for you, Dave, to get something back from CGC? Have you said anything?
I would not even know. Ask the Vancouver Comic Junkie. He sent them in all the time. He's from Vancouver. Probably pretty close to the same.
Man, oh man. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap the show now. I appreciate everyone for hanging in there with us. We had a couple people here with the entire show, so really appreciate it.
Yeah, nice.
Stay tuned in 2 weeks on MrMiracle's channel. We're going to review that golden oldie from the new Coke of comic books, as Dave said, the new universe from Star Brand #1. Be there. I'm sure it's going to be a fun one, and I'll have to get the old recorder ready for the highlight reel. So get your copies on digital, get your copies out of the long boxes, and join us in 2 weeks on MrMiracle's channel. I would give you an update of what I'm doing, but I'm not really doing anything so on the channel. So enjoy the live stream tomorrow night. I'll be there with Jay, and maybe Bub will get on there if Andy gets a little gets into his cups. He likes to jump on the show. So maybe we'll see you then. But tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Jay and I do our Friday show, and that's about all I have planned. So anyway, thanks again for watching, everybody. Everyone stay safe out there. Stay true to yourself. Buy these books that we recommend for you, especially when Dave does it, because he needs the algorithm to keep pushing his channel. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll see you then. Take care, everyone.